If the thought of traveling to other planets seems like science fiction, don't worry. You're not alone. For most of human history, space was just something we looked up at. But now it's within our reach, sort of. Let's take a look at what it would really take for us to visit the red planet, Mars. The journey to Mars. Let's begin with the trip itself. Mars is, on average, 225 million kilometers away. Depending on planetary alignment, a one-way trip takes 6 to 9 months. That's half a year in a spaceship the size of a school bus with recycled air, limited gravity, and zero Uber Eats deliveries. The spacecraft would have to carry everything that the astronauts need to survive that journey, including fuel, food, and water. It'll be equipped with solar panels to generate electricity and propulsion systems to navigate space. But what about communication? How could astronauts possibly communicate with Earth when they're so far away? Well, according to NASA, radio signals travel at the speed of light, which is about 300,000 kilometers per second. But there's a catch. Radio waves can't travel through the vacuum of space. They need a medium like our atmosphere to bounce off of in order to reach their destination. So as the solar system's rovers get farther and farther away from home base, their ability to communicate with Earth will become increasingly difficult. And at its farthest point, the signal can take up to 22 minutes to make the round trip. That means if the astronauts needed help, they couldn't count on getting it right away. Any mission to Mars would need to account for this reality. The astronauts would have to be self-sufficient and prepared to deal with any problems that come up while they in transit. This would require careful planning and a lot of patience, but it's also an exciting prospect. Think about how amazing it would feel to be so far away from Earth with only the stars for company. The sense of adventure and wonder would be unlike anything we've ever experienced before. Of course, there would also be challenges along the way, but the sense of accomplishment that comes with exploring the unknown would be worth it. Landing on Mars. When the solar system arrives at Mars, it will have to slow down from its high speed and land safely on the planet's surface. To do this, the spacecraft would use a combination of parachutes and rockets to bring it to a stop. Once on the ground, the astronauts would have to deploy their habitats, which would serve as their home base during their stay on Mars. These habitats would need to be able to withstand the harsh environment of the planet, including its thin atmosphere, low gravity, and constant dust storms. But despite these challenges, the rewards of exploring Mars would be great. The planet has been shaped by volcanic activity, wind erosion, and the impact of meteoroids. Its surface is full of craters, canyons, and other features that provide clues to its past. By studying Mars, we can learn more about the history of our own planet and the evolution of life in the universe. We may also find evidence of past or present life on Mars, which would be a groundbreaking discovery. The planet's surface is covered in a red-brown dust that gives it its distinctive color. This dust is made up of iron oxide, which is also responsible for the rust color of old cars and other metal objects. The color of Mars has led to it being nicknamed the Red Planet. Despite its color, Mars is actually a pretty cool place. Its average surface temperature about -63 degrees Celsius. That's because Mars is much farther away from the Sun than Earth is. As a result, the planet's atmosphere is very thin and can't trap much heat. The atmosphere of Mars is mostly made up of carbon dioxide with only small amounts of nitrogen and oxygen. This means that humans would not be able to breathe on Mars without a spacesuit. In addition to the thin atmosphere, Mars also has very low gravity. If you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you would only weigh about 38 pounds on Mars. This means that it would be easy to move around on the planet, but it also makes landing a spacecraft more difficult. Despite these challenges, Mars is still a very attractive destination for human explorers. With careful planning and preparation, it is possible that one day we will all be able to experience the thrill of visiting the Red Planet for ourselves. Life on Mars. Okay, so you survived the journey to Mars. Now what does life on Mars actually look like? Well, first things first, You won't be able to walk around outside without a spacesuit. The atmosphere on Mars is too thin and the radiation levels are too high. So that means you'll be spending most of your time inside your habitat. Habitats would be designed to simulate the conditions on Earth as much as possible. They would have artificial gravity, an atmosphere that humans could breathe, and plenty of room to move around. There would also be lots of rules to follow in order to keep everyone safe. For example, you wouldn't be allowed to go outside without a spacesuit, and you would have to be very careful when handling equipment in order to avoid damaging it. Life on Mars would be a team effort. Everyone would have to work together in order to make the mission a success. There would be lots of tasks to complete, such as conducting experiments, exploring the surface, and repairing equipment. So everyone's help would be needed, but it wouldn't be all work and no play. There would be time for fun too. The astronauts could play games, watch movies, and even exercise. After all, they would be living in a habitat for many months, if not years. So it's important that they would be comfortable there. The astronauts would also have the opportunity to explore the surface of Mars, although they would have to do so in a rover. The thin atmosphere and low gravity make it impossible for humans to walk on Mars, but the astronauts could see the famous Olympus Mons, which is the tallest mountain in the solar system. They could also explore the Valles Marineris Canyon, which is one of the largest canyons in the solar system. There would be a lot to see on Mars, and the astronauts would be able to make some amazing discoveries. Overall, life on Mars would be challenging, but it would also be an incredible experience. The astronauts would get to explore a new planet, make groundbreaking discoveries, and maybe even find life beyond Earth. It would be an adventure of a lifetime. Return trip. Unfortunately, the return trip would also mean saying goodbye to some of the comforts of home, at least as we know them. Forget about your car, your house, and your favorite restaurant. Instead, you'll be living in a cramped spaceship for months on end. You'll have to say goodbye to fresh food and comfortable beds. But you'll also need to be prepared for the unexpected. There's no such thing as a typical day in space. One minute you could be making repairs and the next you could be taking part in a scientific experiment. Space travel is unpredictable and exciting. The return trip would be an emotional roller coaster. On the one hand, you'd be returning home after months away. On the other hand, you'd be leaving behind a part of yourself that had grown on Mars. It would be a bittersweet moment, but ultimately the return trip would be an incredible experience. You would have seen and done things that few others can claim to have done. You would have explored a new planet, conducted groundbreaking research, and maybe even found life beyond Earth. You would have lived a truly unique and exciting life, and you would never forget it. Is it worth it? So what would it take for you to leave Earth and never return? Would you brave the months-long journey in a cramped spacecraft knowing that you might never see your home planet again? Or would you prefer to stay on Earth, where you can walk on grass, breathe fresh air, and hug your loved ones goodbye? Traveling to Mars would undoubtedly be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The journey itself would be a test of endurance, and the challenges of living on a new planet would be daunting. However, the rewards would be immeasurable. The chance to explore an entirely new world, conduct groundbreaking research, and maybe even find life beyond Earth would be an incredible opportunity. It would also be a chance to push the boundaries of human exploration and discovery. For centuries, humans have dreamed of going to other planets, and now it's within our reach. With careful planning and execution, a trip to Mars could be both safe and successful. While there would undoubtedly be challenges along the way, the sense of wonder and adventure would make it all worthwhile. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to go to Mars is a personal one. There's no right or wrong answer. But one thing is for sure, the journey would be an experience like no other. If you liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. And if you didn't like it, well, you can always leave a comment below telling us why.